record on our first slide. We missed, but that's okay. We are recording now. Thank you all for joining and being a part of this recording. Any questions so far on any of the things that I've presented? Okay. All right. Edel, you want to share a little bit about the learner profile attributes?
Super. Thanks, Kendra. So I think most of us here are familiar with the PYP learner profile attributes. And as I said in the beginning, I think I've been looking for activities that give students an experience around these different learner profile attributes, help them reflect. And so I know there are a lot of like picture books that sometimes you can make connections, but many people, I think many teachers that work in the IB find the learner profile attributes and the ATL skills to be two of our favorite components. So I think these are what students take on. So when you think about the experiential learning cycle, the grow part, really, I think this is the language, these are the skills and the attributes that students take on after school. So yeah, they're just a really powerful tool. And I think it's a great way to enter into social and emotional experiential learning.
Okay, so preparing for our second activity, it's related to growth mindset. So understanding how growth mindset works and giving students some different language around growth mindset. So growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through your efforts. Although people may differ in every which way, in their initial talents and aptitudes, interests, or temperaments, everyone can change and grow through application and experience. So Edel is going to lead us through a really fun, it's one of my favorite activities around comfort zones.
Wonderful. So this looks a little bit different in a virtual setting. So we'll go through it as a virtual group, but maybe first I'll just explain how this would look in the classroom. So generally you would create or outside or in the classroom, 3 big rings. So the middle one would be called the comfort zone. The next one I would call the stretch zone, and the final one, the panic zone. And here you would give different prompts to students, and they would physically move into each space based on how they feel about the prompt. So Kendra and I thought it would be nice to physically move a little bit. So we're going to start with the comfort zone, which, as you can see in this image here, it's secure, sometimes bored, sometimes stable. But this is really the zone where you fill up your cup. You know, there's low anxiety, you can be relaxed. And so the first activity I'd like you to do is just think about maybe a place, a thing, or a person that when you think of it, it makes you feel like this is my comfort zone. So that can be outside school, it can be inside school. And what we're going to do is just take maybe a little movement back from our computer, first of all, while we're thinking. And maybe when we have that idea in mind, we're just going to move like a little bit closer in and think, okay, I have my idea. This is what the comfort zone is for me.
Awesome. Okay, so the idea is that when we're in close, we're in our comfort zone. So I can share my comfort zone. The first place that comes to mind is my sofa. My sofa where I am with my partner and my new little baby. That is my where I just feel completely at peace and calm.
Would anyone else like to share where your comfort zone is? Or it could be so yours, Kendra, is a mix of people and place, right? You can write in the chat if you'd like, or just share.
I feel pretty comfortable in this chair right here. I spend a lot of time doing my work, watching stuff. This is where I spend most of my time. I feel pretty comfortable.
Nice, John. Thanks. So Liz sitting on the couch watching Netflix, Vanessa at home with my children. Very nice.
My
Andy,
classroom, the trail, my home. Ooh, the trail. Is that a trail outside? in nature. I agree. That's where my heartbeat calms down a bit too. In Jerusalem, wonderful. I just want to draw attention as you're thinking about your like comfort zone, kind of like what feelings, what's happening in your face, what's happening in your body when you think about that place where you feel really comfortable and secure.
Nice. I feel a lot of smiles, even if there's cameras off. It's nice when you think about these places that it brings calm and peace and a smile. All right. Should we move to the stretch zone, Kendra? Super. Okay, so for the stretch zone, here we have obviously on the image there we see some ways to describe it. So we have excited, challenged, alive. This is really the area where we experience the new or maybe unknown. We might take manageable risks and we're not so overwhelmed. So speaking of manageable risks, we can see in the corner that this is a great activity that connects to getting students to reflect on being a risk taker. So maybe you could ask them in this kind of activity, when have you been a risk taker? That might be in your stretch zone. So we're going to think about one way, perhaps this school year, you have been in your stretch zone. So if you want, also because we're a little bit close, you can move a little bit further back. Think when you have an idea of what's the way this school year that you've pushed yourself into your stretch zone.
New groups of people, professional or social. Oh, wow.
Oh, I love that, Erin.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely, moving schools is difficult, right? Wonderful. Okay, and this is also a time within this activity, doing it with students, you could ask, what does it feel like? How did that feel for you to be in your stretch zone? And even thinking about these things, what are some feelings that come up for you? How does it feel in your body? Like we said in the first one for the comfort zone, right? Super. Thank you for sharing. All right. Last but not least, should we nervous about the unknown? Thanks, John. Should we go to panic zone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, super. So panic zone, as we see here, lots of strong emotions. We could also add just overwhelm or frantic, loss of focus, so difficult to keep your eye on the goal. And I suppose for this one, it's good to think not only what is that for us, but has there been times of that this year in your school year, especially over the last few months as we come to this busy, busy time coming to the end? Has there been anything that's struck you as I feel like I'm in my panic zone? And how has that felt?
Yes, me too, Rabbi Shelley. That's my growth zone and my panic zone. That was what came up for me, was a time when I was not prepared with a public speaking event. Yes. Okay.
Interesting. Okay, I'm just reading meeting due dates.
All those the new pressures that come.
Mm.
Ay, that is so hard.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for sharing. They're really open answers, and it just makes the conversation more rich. So thank you for sharing. All right. Kendra, would we like to give some examples of other ways you could play this with students? Or should we move on to reflect?
Yeah, no, so I'd love for us to let's play the activity.
Perfect. Okay, so with this activity on Kikori, there are step-by-step of how to set it up for your students, the physical space. And then there's a mixture of prompts between physical risks and emotional risks, which I really liked. And it's a great way to get students to reflect about these things without already sharing. So we feel like, I think here we have a pretty open group. Everyone's pretty comfortable with writing or perhaps sharing, but sometimes with students it's a little bit more difficult. So as I read each prompt, maybe we can think, okay, where would that be for me? If you want to share something in the chat or put your hand up, you can share something orally. So some of the examples we could do, for example, riding a roller coaster. Where would that be for you on the zones of comfort zone, stretch
So
zone?
so the way that you can play this physically while we're virtual is up close. So right now you're in your comfort zone. If riding a roller coaster is in your comfort zone, stay right here. If it's in your growth zone, like you move back a little bit. And then if riding a roller coaster is like my father is like, heck no, we had to leave Cedar Point early, only there for a day, then you could be way back here. So that's how we can play virtually. So riding a roller coaster.
John loves that.
So when does that make you feel?
When I was a kid, yeah, comfort zone. But as you get older, get a little sicker. So
Oh, I love
scared.
that.
Okay, so Shelly is no longer in Zoom room with us. She's not getting on a roller coaster. Monica as well. Monica is not riding roller coasters. Deborah, stretch zone. Perfect. Okay.
All right. Next one is cooking a meal.
Oh. So again, so if it's in your comfort zone, then you're up here. If it's like stretch zone, yeah, it depends what it is. Nice. I like cooking too.
Super. So next we have singing in front of a group.
Oh.
John's I don't know. I think it's in between stretch and comfort.
How inebriated are we?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'll sing at the drop of a hat. I'm with you, Deborah. Stretch zone. Deborah, have you ever had an experience with singing that was particularly
No.
nerve-wracking?
Just the idea of having to sing in front of people is just completely terrifying. And I would also be sparing people of having to listen to me singing. So
I'm right there with you.
All right. Oh, I love that stretch. Monica, love karaoke, me too. Next one, bringing up conflict with someone that you work with. So a difficult conversation with someone that you work with.
It kind of depends on the person, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm getting better at it. It's like what we do. So we have lots of words around it, but man, it's still really hard.
Yeah, I don't know if this is comfort for many people.
Mhm. Mhm. Great.
Great. Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to move into reflect. So as Kendra mentioned in the beginning, we have a play, reflect, connect, and then grow. And so what's really important about the reflect stage is to talk about what just happened. And so, as I said, when I did this with students, it was really nice to see those students getting involved that normally may not want to share orally or written how they're feeling or just about themselves. And so this part we're gonna, we can keep it open to do it either in the chat or raise your hand, but also I've done it with students where they write something. So we're just gonna think about what did we notice during this activity? Did anything come up for you? Any emotions? What did it bring for you today?
The last question about the conflicts with coworkers. So at the moment, I'm kind of struggling with like PAPX, with mentors and the support staff. Hey, Deborah, I miss you so much. So yeah, just that brought up some emotions. Tomorrow I'm gonna have to have some maybe not so nice meetings and just kind of thinking about like it could be a panic zone. Yeah, just kind of those emotions that come up when you think about the things you have to do.
And I
Nice.
think that thinking about how we feel about these situations and these examples that you named can also make us feel like kind of we're reliving those feelings and what they arise in us. So it's interesting to kind of look back and kind of go through those feelings again.
Thanks, Deborah. I think also you even feel it in your body a little bit, like talking about, oh my gosh, I have to have that conversation, or this is, from a previous experience.
Yeah.
Hey, Edel, this is similar to Lines of Silence, huh?
Yes, I actually told Kendra about that. Yeah, it's pretty similar with the movements.
Yeah, we'd love to include it. We'd love to include the activity when I heard about it in Kikori and share it out, actually.
So just listen to John's point there. I think another nice part about this activity is at least for me, it helps me to be a little bit more gentle with myself, in the sense of like, okay, I have to have these difficult conversations tomorrow, or I have to work harder on my maths, whatever it is that the student feels like they recognize is in their stretch zone, and just be like, I'm pushing myself, so I'm learning, I'm trying to move forward. I'm not giving up. So I think it helps you to have a bit more empathy with yourself too, and self-compassion and all that.
Go for it, Deborah.
No, and I think also it's an exercise of empathy towards others, because it makes us realize how different we feel about different situations, those situations that we might feel like it's in our comfort zones, but for other people, it might be totally in a panic zone. So it kind of helps just creating empathy towards each other.
Yeah, I think we have
Yeah.
some similar answers in the chat for that, right?
What this has always brought up for me. So when I've played this activity, I just, I have these strong reactions to the different prompts. And it always goes back to, the experience that I had. And so it's just this very like strong reminder that the experiences that we have shape us. And, you know, we weren't born not liking roller coasters or cooking or singing. What are the things that have happened? And so that understanding of the experiences that we've had and how we reacted to them, you know, maybe we didn't have the support that we needed. You know, maybe we didn't have like the structure, the humans, whatever it was, that impacts us for a long time. So I think that's, you know, the empathy side of things, and also the opportunity going forward. Once you have that understanding that you can control, you know, you have some control over what you do and how you do it, especially if you know, I'm in my comfort zone, I'm in my growth zone, that's my panic zone. Let me do some things to keep me from going into my panic zone. So that's the other piece with this, that once students have this language around the different zones, it can be applied in so many different ways in the classroom. And everyone experiences things in different ways. I know we don't have a lot of time, sorry. I just get excited about this one.
No, it's great. All right, so the connect part is really taking the reflection and the play and getting students to think about the next steps or outside of that. So our questions for today, we put a bunch there, but I think if you want, we could choose one. So for example, you could think about how can this activity connect to having a growth mindset, to being balanced, a risk taker, to SEL in general, or to other areas of learning. So Kendra, do we have time to maybe share in the chat, or people can take some notes, whatever they feel like?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you've got an idea, or if you want to put something in the chat, if there one of these, do one of these skills really stand out to you as a way that you can help your students build these skills with this activity in particular?
I've already been doing this activity for my students with the exhibition because it's like a big scary project for them. I keep trying to tell them like, no, we're going to be successful. Like everyone's proud at the end if we work hard, but students are still very scared to fail and to try hard. Like a lot of my students are afraid of the hard work, not because it's hard, but because if they really put themselves out there, they might fail, and they're really like kind of scared of that.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of these risk taker activity. I've been trying to incorporate a lot of these risk taker activities in the circle time or the kind of the morning meetings, just to kind of again what the other. It's important to see what other students do, or how other students are feeling, and how you're not alone in that. So I really think these activities are a really nice way, whether like not just verbally, but just kind of like in a safe way to kind of share like, oh, I'm not alone, and kind of think, yeah, getting out of your comfort zone is not easy. That's if it's not easy, that's how you learn. If it is easy, then you're not learning. So just kind of
Exactly.
getting students to appreciate feeling uncomfortable.
Yes, 100%. And the value, so the one piece of this is, and the value of that comfort zone as well. A lot of times, especially, I mean, in the United States, we're very focused on the challenging, the growth, the doing, achieving, efficiency. And the only way that you can be successful in the stretch zone is if you move back and forth and recharge and rest. So I think helping students as well recognize the value of that comfort zone and who those people are, and that there's an interplay there between both of those.
The more times you go into that stretch zone, your comfort zone becomes bigger, right?
Yes,
That's what I
that's
kind of want students to kind of understand is if you just stay in your comfort zone, it's going to stay small. As you grow, you want that comfort zone to get bigger, so you're more comfortable in more situations.
yes, that's another visual. It's part of the activity. I love that. Okay.
It connects also kind of what you said to being balanced, right? Valuing the comfort zone also.
Yes. Yep. So I'm just looking at the time, and I feel like with what we're talking about, the next activity is really important. Again, we're going to share all these slides with you. It's really important for us that we like provide, you know, the resources. These resources are here for you, and we welcome you to use them as you wish. Spread the word if they're helpful to you. So we've got a little bit of research behind growth mindset and how it supports students in learning, ways to improve their growth mindset, and this activity. So we wanted to make sure we've got time for this, which is called Touch Someone Who, which is a wonderful activity at the end of the school year that can help those students really build those connections with each other.
Wonderful. Kendra, do you want to explain how it could work in the classroom, and then I'll explain how?
Yes. Okay. So the way that I have played this is that you've got a deck of cards and you give every single student a different card. So that means that there are a quarter of the students are hearts, a quarter of spades, a quarter of diamonds, a quarter of clubs. And I have a different group of students stand up. So I'll say hearts stand up, and everyone else will have their eyes closed. When the hearts stand up, I read off a number of different prompts. And so Edel will give some of those examples for us today. And students actually, so physically, and I mean, I think maybe there's a way, I don't know if physical touch isn't allowed in your space, let me know. I'm sure we can come up with a modification, but they physically touch each other when that prompt rings true for each other. And so it's a really beautiful activity where students who don't necessarily feel like they are connected, feel like they belong, feel like they are valued and seen in this space, can be physically show that's yes, they are important, they are loved. So it's a really great activity, I think, for the end of the year.
Super, thank you. So one thing I'd just like to add to that is because the eyes are closed, at least with fifth graders that around that age, it was really, I tried this with our students, it was really successful because they didn't have to put themselves out there. So, you know, they could choose different people, different times. Boys could choose girls, girls could choose boys, and there was no like social kind of judgment around it. And it was really powerful. It was really quiet, and afterwards there was like a really giddy like energy in the room. So it was really good. So we can't physically like touch shoulders today, but what we thought would be nice to do is just for us as teachers to think about our students. So I'm going to read out some prompts. And if you have a pen and paper, you could write down a name of a student who comes to mind when I read the prompt. So it can be a student. I know that we're not all classroom teachers, but perhaps you work with multiple classes, or you know, you have students who you know better than others if you're a leader in your school. And so just any student that comes to mind.
Yeah, students or humans.
Oh, humans. Sure, true. So the first one we're going to do is write down a name of someone who makes a difference. So that can be in your class if you want to choose a student, or it can be just someone in your life if that's someone who comes up for you. All right. Oh, thanks for sharing in the chat. Next one is someone who has been a risk taker this year. That could even be yourself, right? Someone who has been caring this school year. Someone who you believe in. Someone who makes you want to come to class every day, or come to work, or even have breakfast, get up and get going. Someone who shows curiosity and is an inquirer, so that kind of passion for learning. Someone who makes you laugh. Someone who is a creative thinker. Or maybe it's someone who's kind of inspires you with their creativity or their thoughts. And just have a couple more. Someone whose effort and work that they should be proud of. So someone who you believe should be proud of themselves. Okay, and last one. This one was the one that stuck with my students a lot after. It's the one they talked about the most. Someone who you'd like to get to know better. Wonderful. Thanks for participating. I see some answers in the chat as well. And I think this activity is wonderful for like as we have there to get students to reflect. Normally they don't have a lot of time, so it's quite quick. They have to kind of choose someone within the room. It's a little bit easier, I think, when you can see the people. It's kind of harder thinking from your head. And then just afterwards, the conversations we had were a lot about how we care for each other, even though maybe we don't show it all the time, that we are kind of seen, like what Kendra said, we belong within this community, that there's lots of people that think about us when they're prompted like this.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from any of you. If anything, did anything come up for you during this activity? What was that like? See? I mean, for me, it was fun just thinking of the humans in my life, you know, and thinking of telling them and letting them know. But it brought a smile to my face, like when I thought of when I landed on the person and had the memory of what they're doing. Anyone have any other reactions to this activity? Yeah. How do the students identify the other students? Yeah, so yep. So 3/4 of the kids have their eyes closed and one group at a time stands up. And there are within the activity, there are, I don't know, like 50 different prompts. So there are 4 different sets of prompts for each group of kids that stand up. And so when they read off the prompts, the kids have a chance to go and touch anyone who is creative, anyone who they'd like to know better, anyone who they think, you know, grew this year, anyone who they think was kind. And so kids get to experience that feeling of touch and hear that other kids do care about them and other kids do want to get to know them. Does that make sense on how to play the activity? It's never happened. I mean, I haven't seen that happen. And I think there is, I mean, you know, it is a good activity to play with a group of students where you have built some sense of community first. So this isn't an activity that you'd play like when students are just getting to know each other. This is very much so a culminating activity at the end of a program, at the end of a year, when students do feel connected. And you might want to, if you're concerned about that, you might want to do some front loading around empathy and caring for each other and thinking about everyone in the space.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Liz. I'd also add to that, because students know each other at the end of the year, I found that some of them, and we talked about these two attributes before, that you could see, I mean, depending on the level of maturity, they were kind of mindful about who might not get a lot of touches on the shoulder. And you could see that they kind of went for those students and made an effort to do that. So it was really nice. That's a good question, because I was worried about it too.
Wonderful. Any other thoughts on this activity? Can you see using an activity like this with your students? Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, and I think the prompts as well, there are tons of prompts in the activity that we'll share out afterwards, but it's really nice for you to be able to make up, your own prompts. There might be some special prompts. And kids can play a part in this as well, write down something special that they want to share. Okay, so with this activity in particular, I think it really fosters that sense of belonging, help kids know that throughout the year, they were seen and heard, they were valued, they were appreciated. And again, that physical touch will stay with them. There's a wonderful book that I've been reading about belonging. It's got heaps of science around the value of helping our students feel a sense of belonging that impacts every area of their lives. And there's also some wonderful research about when we give appreciation. So the act of, those students that were touching each other and giving that care are impacted just as much by giving that kindness as the ones who are receiving it. And last but not least, so I'm just going to go through this super quick. Reframing is deconstructing and reconstructing our memories. So this is a process in experiential learning. And the idea is that when you call up memories, it changes them for better or for worse. So to reconstruct old memories, you first need to deconstruct with a calmer emotional state and more constructive thoughts. So they'll be stored with new associations that reduce their reactivity. So helping your students think about something that was difficult throughout the year in a time where they are calm and can talk through what happened, name what happened, explain what happened, can actually help them reassociate that memory with something more positive. And that's the magic in reframing and how we can take these difficult things that have happened, but turn them into growth and learning opportunities going forward. Let's see. So reframing events helps you build joint problem-solving skills and reduce sensitivity of issues so you may not have been able to handle the first time around. In a sense, you are diffusing landmines in your past that have ended up triggering you repeatedly in the present. So this is also why it's really wonderful to take the time to reflect, because you can turn these difficult memories into something that is wonderful. And so the way that we wanted to end this webinar today is there's a platform called Climber Cards. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And this is, I know they've got a free, a free trial that you can use. This is a virtual website, but you can use this type of an activity with any type of cards or postcards. I will share in the playlist that we send out to you. I've got an awesome deck of postcard visuals that we created that you can print out. And the idea is any type of a visual metaphor or a physical metaphor. We do this with little figurines. You can do it with little toys, but it's choosing something that represents your year, represents learning, in a way where you can decide what you want to take from that memory. So, our goal with this activity today is to choose a card that represents one thing that may have been difficult for you in this last school year that you want to take with you going forward, and you want to reframe into a way that will empower you and help you grow in the next school year. So let's see if we can. Are you all able to access this? Let's see, this website. Are you all able to access this website?
I can see it, Kendra. I can see the cards.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. So I welcome you to head into this presentation. And as our last activity today, which is focused on reframing, choose an image that represents something from the last year that may not, maybe it was a stretch zone, maybe it was a panic zone, something that happened last year you want to learn from. You want to say, thank you, thing. And you'll select that card, and you can actually write a little note. So we're just going to give you a couple minutes, but take as long as you need to find your card and think about what you want to take out of this last year that you had.
Kendra, can I just add something to this activity? So I think something nice to think about, especially at the end of the year, is kind of focusing on the bigger picture with students. So doing something like this, for example, where they choose an image and perhaps saying, what's one thing, I've learned this year that I will take to next year. It kind of helps us to reframe, even if it's been a difficult class, that everyone has learned something if they take the time to reflect. So I'm thinking about doing this with my students.
Yeah, and so what we're doing when we do this activity is we're creating a metaphor in our mind. And so there's some science as well that where in order to do this, there's a certain part of our brain. So if you ever ask anybody to, thinking about their weather or, what color are you today, or looking at these different cards, you actually look up and to the left, and this is the area of the brain where that memory is stored. And so you're going back and you're saying, how does what happened this year connect with these visuals that creates longer learning, longer retention and memory of the metaphor that you're creating. So, oh, this is wonderful. Hard time waking up on time. Tell me about it. Reframing, having clear goals. Using your challenges to open new doors going forward. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Erin, with the new family component. That's mine is a bag of groceries, actually. is my visual that I'm reframing for next year. Making sure to spend time on family. Yeah, I had a specific grocery experience this past year that I learned from. Oh, that's wonderful, Liz. I'm so happy to hear that. You're finding your way with the Karens. Appreciating. Wonderful. All right, well, let's see. Where's my share? Okay. So yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today and to play these activities. Really, yeah, it was really wonderful just getting to learn with you and be with you and remember that we're all in this together, you know, in different places. Our gift that we'd love to give to you today is we'll send you over a playlist of the activities that we played. And then what Edel has created is actually a Kikori activity choice board of activities that are connected to each of those learner profile attributes that's available in Kikori. Kikori is, for those who don't know, it's a platform of, we've got over 2,000 activities that are available that follow these experiential learning approach. These are just some of the books of curriculum that are available through the platform. And our goal is to make facilitating these activities as easy as possible, as well as creating space for you to be able to share the activities that you lead in your classroom. So again, I love that activity that you created, John. All of our activities align with different standards, social emotional learning standards, 21st century skills. And we do have some different school-wide programs available. So we've got a Summer Spark program, a core curriculum that aligns with group development standards. And we love, you know, piloting with schools to help them find out if this is something that could be useful in creating connections, community, and belonging in their school. And we would love if you enjoyed today. If you wanted to get the word out about what we did, if you had any favorite moments, we'll send over the slides as well. So we welcome you to use those and share those as they are helpful to you in your work. Yay! And wonderful, Andy. Awesome. If there's one, okay, so was the thing that I heard recently is that we learned so many different things. But if we can choose one thing that we want to take away, that will help us in our kind of like the decision overload. So is there one activity you'd like to play? Yay. Oh, I'm so happy to see these messages. Comfort zone, I love it. Awesome. Y'all got one thing you want to take away? Comfort zones. Love that. And there are lots of fun prompts in the platform. The weather check-in. Great. Use it with your coworkers. That's the other thing.
Yes, Kendra, I wanted to
Bring it into
mention,
professional development. Yeah.
absolutely. A lot of these activities we can do with adults, and that's something that I've been thinking about recently, talking with Deborah and thinking about how we could bring some of these. They're really wonderful. And I think if we play them just like we did today, teachers are more likely to use it with their students because they've experienced it themselves.
Wonderful. I love this. All right. Any other takeaways before we head out today? If you have any questions about Kikori, I can stay on for a couple moments. But otherwise, my goodness, thank y'all for joining us. It was wonderful to meet you. Obrigado. Yeah. And thank you, Ms. Erin, for being here. I'm excited to get to talk to you soon too. All right. Have a wonderful evening with your
Thanks,
families.
Edel. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Did you have fun?
Thanks, John. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, Edel. It was
You're
wonderful.
welcome.
Thanks.
Oh,
Bye.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You're gonna share that slideshow?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. We'll send that over to you. Yep. Lots of fun data. Bye. Obrigado. And
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, John.
ciao, ciao.